Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hopefully everybody is doing as best as possible, in good health, good state of mind with everything that's going on. Here locally where I'm at, businesses, non-essential businesses are shut down. They haven't really given us a time frame. You know, the barbershop I've shut down. This is going on week 2 of the barbershop being shut down. So I just hope everybody else out there is doing the best as they can. 2 things I want to address real quick. Number 1, be grateful. I've had to take a break from social media a little bit, Facebook especially, because it seemed like every time I got on there was people complaining, this is horrible, that's horrible. Granted, people, we're going through some rough stuff right now. Everybody's in the same boat, but be grateful. There's so many things that could be a lot worse in our lives right now. I know for myself, I'm grateful that I'm financially able to have what I need in this house. My children aren't going to go hungry. Me and my wife, we work hard, we save our money. I think we do the right thing with our finances. So a time like this comes and it's not, just a panic. So just be grateful, people. It taught me to be grateful. No matter what situation I'm in, it could always be worse. All right. And number 2, please, if you pray, say a prayer to the people in Kensington, for the people in Kensington. Philadelphia is the hardest hit city in Pennsylvania when it comes to the coronavirus. The last time I checked, there was right around 300 cases, and a third of those cases were coming from the Philadelphia area. So please say an extra prayer for them. Keep them in your well wishes, because a lot of them rely on the generosity of others to get by, to get that first meal of the day, and now Philly is essentially shut down. There's no hanging out in the streets. There's no, you guys should stay home. Philadelphia is on what you would consider lockdown. Nobody's supposed to move or be out in public unless you're headed to or from work, essential work. So keep them in prayer. So I was having a conversation, I believe it was yesterday, the day before, with a family member. And they were asking, we were talking about the whole situation, the quarantine and lockdown and stuff. And I said there was one thing that happened in my life that made me be prepared for any other situation that could come into my life. And that was back in 2013. I had just left a relationship that I was in with my daughter's mother. The relationship was extremely toxic. And it was just a bad relationship all the way around the board. So when I left, she didn't want me to leave. So she said she had known a crime that I had committed in the past. And she said, Frank, if you don't come back home, I'm going to call the police on you. I'm going to tell them what you did, and you're going to get locked up. And I couldn't return home for nothing in me. I just couldn't do it. The relationship had ran its course. Like I said, it was just toxic. So I left. And a couple weeks later, she ends up calling the cops on me for something that I had done in the past. Didn't really have nothing to do with her. But I guess she's seen it as her way of getting even with me, or causing me some problems, in my future, in hopes that I would have to run back to her, which wasn't the case. There was no way I was going back to that situation. But along the course, when I left her, I had left basically with the clothes on my back. I packed a little bag with some other clothes and left everything else in the house. All the furniture stood there because my daughter was living there. Everything else stood. I took basically what fit into, a garbage bag. Packed the garbage bag up with some clothes and left. And I had my barber shop opened at the time. And this is 2013, spring of 2013. And I remember she told me, she said, if you don't come back home today, it was a Friday. She said, if you don't come back, excuse me, it was a Thursday. She said, if you don't come back home today by 8 o'clock, I'm calling the cops at 8 o'clock. I said, well, do what you got to do. And sort of forgot about it. So that was a Thursday. Friday, And at this time, I had a little bit of money saved up, just because I knew that I was going to be leaving her. So the first thing I did with a little bit of money that I had saved up was I paid the rent for the barbershop. I paid it ahead a couple months, put some extra money down on my bills, so that I knew if all else failed, that stuff was paid. And I remember I stood with $1,200 in my pocket. That was the last $1,200 to my name at the time. Friday evening, me and Rachel, we were in the barbershop, and I hear a knock at the door. And it was the cops, I could tell by the knock. Could have chose not to answer it. They couldn't see inside. We were in a back room, you know. But I did answer it. So I went and answered the door. They asked me to come outside. They said, Frank, look, we have a warrant for your arrest. Come outside. I guess they couldn't come inside because they asked me to come outside, I remember. So, long story short, I go outside, go to court, get my bail set. And I thought the whole time, I said, all right, I got $1,200 in my pocket. I'll be able to post bail. They'll probably give me a $10,000 bail, 10%, you know, all that stuff. It was a misdemeanor case. The case was old at that time. I had been out of trouble and not been arrested or convicted of a crime in over 10 years. You know, so I thought things were going to go in my favor when I went to see the judge. Things didn't go in my favor when I went to see the judge. They gave me $20,000, 10%, which anybody knows is $2,000, right? So I have this $1,200 in my pocket. And it was a Friday night. My cousin was getting married the next day. We were supposed to attend the wedding. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, I got $1,200. And I was a little upset with myself. I was like, damn, why did I go and put money down on my rent and pay up the bills and put extra money on the bills and stuff like that? Now I'm short. Now I have to rely on somebody else. I have to rely on one of my family members. So that's what I did. I got a phone call when I got to the prison, called Rachel, let her know the situation, told her I had $1,200 on my books and that I need $800 more. Mind you, me and Rachel were in a relationship this time, very, very early in our relationship. And I remember telling her, and she said, all right, I'm gonna make some phone calls. She had a couple $100 that she could contribute at the time. So essentially I might have needed about $500 or $600 to post bail. She called everybody in my family. Not a single person would help me. Not a single person. She called my cousins, she called my aunts, my uncles, everybody. Not a single person would help me that she called. And I thought myself, I was like, all right, she's going to make a phone call or two. We'll get this bail money. I'll be out of here, you know, in time for the wedding on Saturday morning. Didn't happen that way. You know, nobody wanted to help me. Nobody wanted to, you know, give me a couple dollars, let me borrow a couple dollars. Mind you, at this time I had a business. It wasn't like I was unemployed or I had just gotten in trouble and was running the streets. I had been out of trouble for years. But I remember sitting in that cell and thinking to myself, okay, I needed essentially $500-600 for my freedom, and nobody would help me with that. Everybody said they couldn't do it, you know, stuff like that. And I remember I was upset, you know, at first. I was really upset. I was like, damn, my family can't come through. My friends, I've never really been the type to hang out with a lot of people, a bunch of friends and stuff like that. And essentially the only one that would help and contribute whatever she could was Rachel. Nobody else. And I remember thinking to myself, and I said, this will never happen again. I will never be in a situation where I have to depend on somebody else for something this important. Mind you, like I said, I had a business running. I could have paid them back in 2 days, essentially, $600. That, you know, it's nothing. I could have paid them back right away. And family members had the means to do it. They just chose not to. So I instantly learned, you know, that I was good to people while I was present, but the second I wasn't, necessarily wasn't so good to them. And I remember I ended up getting bailed out a week later. You know, my father, we were speaking at the time, and he was the only one that would do that for me. So thank you, Dad. I know you watch the videos, so thank you very much for doing that. He let me borrow the money, paid him back, and everything was good. But I remember that feeling that I got, knowing that my own family wouldn't help me with $600. And mind you, I've paid family members' bills. I put my neck out there for family. Whenever anything goes wrong in the family, I'm the person they call. That's just the way it goes. I'm that person. Everybody in the family usually has one or two people they call in the family when something goes wrong, something crazy goes on. Call Frank, and it's still that way too today. But now I limit myself. I distance myself from a lot of family just for that reason, that I realized at one of my most desperate times of need, I couldn't rely on anybody but Rachel, and in turn my father. And I remember when I got home a week later, I don't think they were expecting me to come home. At the time I had a Mercedes truck, and like the family members that I had drive my truck and park my truck away, they went through my truck and took whatever they wanted for them, sunglasses and and stuff that I had in there. And I remember I was like, damn, they just completely counted me out. And to them it was no big deal. To me, it was my freedom. I just remember that. And when I was speaking to my sister last week, I told her, I said that's what makes me now not have to rely on anybody. That week that I had to spend in jail because nobody would help me out helped to build me into the person I am today. That I very rarely will need somebody, and if I do need help from somebody, 9 times out of 10 I'm not even going to ask my family. It's a shame, and a lot of people are like that. A lot of families are like that. This isn't unique to my family. It's just the way things are at times. But I remember at first, like I said, I was upset. Now it's made me extremely independent, and to realize that I don't have to rely on anybody. I can rely on my wife, and that's about it. And I'm grateful for that today. Back then, not so much. Today, I'm grateful for that, because it's made me put myself in position and work that much harder, so that I know if the sky falls tomorrow, me and my family, we're going to be all right. I saved my money so much better. I'm so much better financially because of that time when that happened to me. $600. And, it's just, it is what it is. And it's made me a better person. So I encourage you guys, when we get dealt those hands in life and we get upset at people for not having our back, learn a lesson. There's always a lesson to be taught. Learn that lesson and don't forget it. Don't forget who was there for you when you needed them the most. Don't forget, because 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the people we least expected. It's not going to be the people that said, I have your back, I have your back, I have your back. It's going to be the people who are silent. They're going to be the ones that are there for us. So remember that, and just think about it. Thank you, guys.